Hello everybody, my name is Tommy Ostrom and I'm with Calvin Treichler. We are the Physics Pals and today we're going to be talking about the photoelectric effect. So what exactly is the photoelectric effect? And basically what it is when light shines on a metal surface, the metal surface is able to emit electrons. So just another definition of that is at the top, electromagnetic radiation can push electrons free from the surface of a solid. So basically light shines down on the metal and it gives the electrons in the metal enough energy to break free from the surface and produce energy. So a wave of light or a particle of light, which would be called a photon, carries energy, and when it hits the metal, the light has enough energy to knock the electrons out of its atom. So just the second bullet point there, the photoelectric effect doesn't occur when the frequency of the incident light is less than the threshold frequency. So there are some lights that do not produce energy in the photoelectric effect. So here's an illustration right here that just shows the light photons shooting down at the sodium metal, and they are carrying energy with them and they're able to eject the electrons from the surface.
Yeah, and those electrons that are ejecting there are really what gives us our energy. Those are the ones that are going to go through a circuit.
And they're called photoelectrons because they have been ejected by photons. So one thing that you can do is you can start current in a circuit by shining light on a metal surface connected to a circuit. So that's how you can get some current through there, and you can just see a cinematic diagram. I think that's what it's called.
Schematic.
Schematic, thank you, Calvin, of a solar panel that is connected in a circuit. So that's pretty cool. And the photoelectric effect has two factors that affect the amount of energy that the photoelectrons have. One of them is the frequency of the incident radiation, so the frequency of the light wave, and also the material of the surface that is being hit with light. And here's just an illustration of the frequency of the light versus the energy. So you can see red really does not produce any energy, but colors like blue and purple produce more.
Yeah, and it's also interesting how different materials like potassium or the other ones here, and like sodium, each one of those has a different, would be a different line on here, and also different colored lights, interact with those materials differently.
And here's just another illustration showing the light spectrum and how red, you can see on the right, has the larger wavelengths and violet has the smaller wavelengths. And then here's just, again, another illustration of the photoelectric effect where you can see the red light on the left does not eject photoelectrons. However, the green light does eject photoelectrons even if the light is dim, and the blue light ejects many photoelectrons with more energy than the green light does.
So we have one video, what is it? And this is a scientist who is kind of doing somewhat of a similar experiment than we are, a little more high tech, but we'll see what he has to say here.
We're in the demo lab with Lonnie, where he set up a photoelectric effect experiment. He has white light impingent on a metal, and the energy of the photoelectrons emitted are shown on the meter at right. If he puts a red filter in the path, now only red photons can strike the metal, and you can see they do not have sufficient energy to eject photoelectrons. If we go to higher energy photons, say go to yellow light, that's shorter wavelength and higher energy photons, they may be able to eject photoelectrons. And indeed, photoelectrons are emitted, but with a relatively small energy. If we go to higher still photon energy, green wavelengths, that's shorter wavelength still, higher photon energies, we can see photoelectrons emitted at a higher energy. Now we can still go to higher energy photons. Blue photons, photons in the blue region, are the highest energy visible photons, and Lonnie has a blue filter that will pass only blue photons. Putting the blue filter in the path, shows photoelectrons emitted at the highest energy. So here's an example of the photoelectric effect. Thanks,
All right.
Lonnie, for that great demonstration.
Nice job, Lonnie. Thanks for helping us out understanding the photoelectric effect.
Let's see if we can... All right, so to calculate photon energy and what we're trying to use for our experiment, the equation is E equals hf, and h is Planck's constant, which is just just a number. You can see it right there, 6.63 times 10 to the negative 34, and that's in joules per second. And then the F is the frequency of the photon. So with that equation equals hf, you can manipulate it with our equation V equals lambda F. You can get E equals hv divided by the wavelength. All right, so for our experiment, our hypothesis was that if the wavelength of the light source increases, then the energy of the photoelectrons will increase. So basically, the further you get to away from red towards violet, the energy of the photoelectrons will increase. So our procedure, we put different color filters over a flashlight and shined it onto a solar panel. You can see the multimeter we used right there. We used that to measure the voltage in the simple circuit that we created in series with the solar panel. You can see the solar panel there, and then you can kind of see a diagram of what we did. We didn't end up using that flashlight, but we used something similar. Okay, so here's our data. You can see it with red, it was 0.22 volts, yellow 0.31 volts, blue 0.25 volts, purple 0.24 volts, and then our control, which was just no filtered, was 0.36 volts. And so basically, we can go back to the data here. Just a quick analysis. One thing that we thought was interesting with the red actually did show up on the voltmeter, and I think what just happened there was just the light that was in the room. Whether it was from the windows or it could have been a variety of things. Just somehow that kind of got through and affected the solar panel a little bit. But we did organize these from smallest to largest wavelength. So you can see there's not really.
We were expecting more of a linear pattern to show up, and we saw that the lights kind of jumped around a little bit with the volts that they produced.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise for us.
It was a surprise. So our hypothesis was not quite supported, but we did learn quite a bit about the photoelectric effect.
And we hope that you did too.